The element of fire. It's an interesting element because it is the only one of the four elements that has to feed off of something in order to survive. If not, if it could feed on anything, it wouldn't exist. It can absolutely destruct and destroy everything in its path, yet it can also create new life. If you really think about that, that is so intense and it is so real. The forest can burn down, yet after the smoke clears and the rains come, new growth comes, and the soil itself is even more fertilized and more fruitful, I guess you would say. I don't think it's the right term, but it's got more into it. More meaning. More life. More energy inside of it to create more life. Fire personalities. They're very passionate, intense. On the good side, it can make for great love, strength, desire, connection, passion, incredible sex. But also, on the other side, intense arguments, intense feeling, anger. You know, how much do you connect with fire? I connect with it quite a bit, and I have to say that I use it for a bit of both. Something magical that I always find is when I have a lot of thoughts and I feel my soul speaking to me, my conscience, my intuition going off, and it's firing off in several different directions. I like to stare at a fire and feel it, watch the flames, feel the heat, let it burn. If I have anything at the time that I need to let go, you can either write it down if it's not something physical that you contain, but you can write it down and release it by throwing it into the fire and letting it burn and watching it burn. You know, also, you can do some scrying. Those of you who don't know what scrying is, it's a lot of black mirrors, smoke. There's also in fire, water. It's crystal balls. Gaze into the crystal ball and you could see your future, your desires, your wishes, what's to come, what to watch out for. Scrying in fire can be great. I've seen great beings come out of a fire. Mainly, one of my magical creatures that I connect with the most, the phoenix. To be able to capture one of those is quite an amazing thing. You can also see demons. You can also see hell. Not the physical hell that Christians believe there to be, but, you know, if you ever read about Dante and the 7 layers of hell, it may not actually be in existence in the physical world, but you can use your imagination and put together a picture in your head by just feeling it and visualizing it. Lots of intense things can come out of fire. I find personally that when there's a lot of static and vibration and various extremes of emotion going on, that is when the hottest of fires burn. As what I have going on in my life right now. You know, to share a lot of my my everyday witchy life with you guys without putting my personal life flat out on the table is a fine balance, I have to say. There are times I just want to spill the beans and say, this is what's going on, this is it. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, telling your best friend everything that you got going on because you're in that moment and you are fired up and you have extreme anxiety, extreme anger, extreme love, or extreme happiness. There's so many different things and you want to share it. And then, as the fire burns down and that passion kind of dies down a little bit, or that extreme emotion, intense feelings that you have going on, you find that, it's not as great or as bad as you once thought it was, or it seemed to be. And then you find yourself back balanced. A lot like your body. Right now I'm very hot. My skin is seemingly burning. It's probably because I'm pretty close to the fire. But as soon as I walk away, I'll still be warm, and the further I get away from the fire, the quicker I cool down, and the quicker my body regulates back to normal, back to its balance. To recognize little things like that and be in tune with yourself in that way is very important, and I think a lot of people don't, I think they take it for granted in a lot of ways. If you've never paid attention to it, you might be having an aha moment right now. Try it. Pay attention to those little things, because when you pay attention to little things, and they mean something, when you have a big thing happen, or a big occurrence, or you see something that's just unique or rare, it makes it that much greater. There's a saying in one of your chakras that one of the ways to balance, especially your solar plex, your orange and your red chakras, your root chakra, is that this is the only way I can describe it. You eat a piece of cake, your favorite cake, or a piece of pie. It's your absolute favorite. You haven't had that piece in years, and you finally get to have it. It's put in front of you, and you just indulge, and you eat that, you eat that motherfucker up so quick. It was delicious, and you just enjoyed every second of it. But, because you indulged so quickly, and you didn't take a moment to appreciate and use all 5 of your senses to go into it, the moment passes you by so quick that you almost don't have time to input it and keep it in your long-term memory bank. So you can't recall that again. It's very short-lived. It's not something you can just bring back up, 2 weeks later, and somebody asks you when the last time you had that piece of cake is, you'll tell them, I had a couple pieces, you might remember the day, but you might not. And you certainly are not going to remember the amazing intensity of satisfaction and gratification you had while you ate it. Now, in order to balance that, and to get your full enjoyment, and to experience the absolute high of what you were given, or the blessing that you have been lucky enough to experience or obtain, you use all 5 senses and you take that one bite, the first bite, and you feel it in your mouth, and you taste it, and you smell it, and it's, the temperature, the texture, the smell, the feeling, the euphoria that comes over you when you swallow and it goes into your belly, and the satisfaction. You can do that to the fullest extent and absolutely indulge, not in just your vice or your treat at the time and the experience, but in the moment of being able to use that treat as a catalyst and correlate it with your emotions, your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your senses. And you absolutely apply it, you will not only remember that moment for a very long time, and this doesn't have to necessarily do with a piece of cake or pie, but if you're following me here, you catch my drift. But in that, you indulge, you fully go into it, and you appreciate every bit of it. You can count your blessings because you had that moment of, and you're lucky enough to experience that and get that opportunity. That you will be so full of satisfaction and just lost for the word. You're just satisfied. You're just completely fulfilled. That, I guarantee you, you'll find that you barely even were able to make it through half of that piece of pie or cake, and you'll be full and not need any more, nor desire any more. You'll be done. It's the little things. But that fire, that passion, the sound is soothing. It can be soothing if you're cold and you need to be warm. It can be soothing to the soul if you are eating food and it's warm. Help you cook your food. Feed your family. Feed yourself. It's really amazing when you break something down, you really think about it, dissect it almost. And if you have the blessing of being able to share it with somebody and have a nice conversation about it, do so. Take advantage of it and do it. You might discover something not only about yourself that's new or something that you have forgotten, but you can also teach somebody else something or learn something new about that person you're conversating with. And to learn about other people, not just in general speaking, but to learn more about their souls, gives you the ability to connect with their soul, and therefore you have more friends that you carry on for lifetimes. Not just this life, not just in the mundane level, but in the spiritual level, in the universal level. And you build that bond and make it solid enough. It's something that you can always come back to, and you establish a relationship to where the next life you know that you have somebody to count on. And that is a very rare thing, at least for me. To have people that you can count on and trust, perfect love, perfect trust, 100%, is very hard to come by nowadays. So if you have that, don't take it for granted and appreciate it. Appreciate it to the fullest extent, because you are one of the very lucky few. Now, if you are used to that kind of thing, to where you do have those relationships and those bonds with people, the people that you can count on, pick up the phone and no questions asked. You'll be there for them and they will be there for you. Sometimes you find that it just dissipates, and for some reason, which only I think the universe knows at the time, they disappear. And I think that's because it's not necessarily anything you did wrong, but it's a lesson that needs to be learned. The universe has an interesting way of forcing lessons upon you that you have made the same mistake on over and over and over, and you have not learned your lesson. But if it's an important enough lesson, some lessons you don't learn in your entire life, but the next lifetime you'll repeat it again and be given that chance and that opportunity to have at it again, learn it, but some aren't as important as others. Mine, this life, is a pretty big one, apparently, because it's been pretty much shoved down my throat. But once I recognized it, the signs were easier to recognize, and the energies that spoke to me were easier to listen to and hear. Instead of straining to hear it, it's a lot more clear. But fire is very intense. Water can be very intense, but not as intense as fire. Wind also can be intense. Blow you over. Shit, knock you off your feet. Still not as much as fire. There's no death by wind, unless it's by a hurricane or something else, but you can't die just from being in the wind. You can't die just on being on the earth. The earth can crush you, but fire, it can consume you. Wow. As long as you respect it, though, it'll work with you and not against you. And that goes with all the intense emotions you have. You might have intense anger, and you might have intense passion or love for something that's just so in you that you cannot seem to damper down. but you necessarily don't want to. And I would suggest that you wouldn't. To learn to control, though, is big, and balance is huge. So appreciate it. And let me know what you think. What's your take on fire? Do you use it? Do you connect with it? Have you ever even thought about it? Love and light, you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.